the biggest hurdle I see for any young retiree prior to age 65, and that's healthcare cost.
Huge.
So there are ways that you can mitigate that. So if you keep your household income below, and I'm using rough figures, $70,000 a year for a married couple, then you would qualify for the Affordable Health Care Act. Affordable Health Care Act will subsidize your Medicare, or I'm sorry, your healthcare premiums. Welcome to the Wiser Retirement Podcast. We believe the best financial advice should always be conflict free. I'm your host, Casey Smith, guiding you to financial freedom. Today is my co-host, Shauna Theriault.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we have big news this Tuesday early morning. I heard this news? Oh, you have. We got notice last week that Missy, who's not here today, she's out watching her son play golf. He plays golf at Rhodes College. We're watching. She was awarded one of the best financial planners in the country by Money.
Yeah.
So Money Magazine, right?
Yes.
In connection with the Financial Planning Association. So we are very excited for her.
Absolutely proud of her.
If you want to book a consultation with the world's best financial planner, you can do that by reaching out to her through our website online. But, my office is right next to the media room. And sometimes when the air is not running, it usually is, but when the air is not running, I can hear things. And I could have sworn I heard her, someone say, congratulations. I could have sworn I heard her say, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence, and nobody can hang with my stuff. I'm just a big, hairy, that's kind of awkward, right? American winning machine. If you're not first, you're last. I'm pretty sure I'd heard her say that.
I'm pretty sure she didn't. And she would be mortified if she thought she said that.
We love you, Missy. That was Ricky Bobby in Talladega Nights, and I don't think he was in the Wiser office, but...
No,
I heard that.
I don't think so either.
I saw this like on one of my Instagram scrolls or something. It's like, I gotta work that into it.
Yes, she would not be saying that.
Oh my goodness, we can make sure she listens to the beginning of this episode. Anyway, congratulations, Missy. We're proud of you.
Absolutely.
We have the best team in finance. I've said that on multiple podcasts, and I'm really proud of her. It's not just, she would say it's not just her. It takes a group, and she's very humble, and that's true. It takes a team to make all this work. We have, good grief. I think there's like 40 plus financial plans open right now.
Yes.
About 4 new clients on average come in every single week. So it's a busy place here at Wiser Global Headquarters.
Absolutely. So, happy to be here.
Well, you didn't tune in to hear about Ricky Bobby, probably. You probably tuned in to hear about strategies for early retirement and long-term security. And we've done some things about this before. I think there's a lot of people that, it's true of anything. There's a lot of people that want something.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to work to do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants to be successful at something, but typically it doesn't come easy, and there's a lot of sacrifice that you have to do to get to that point. And I think early retirement in this day and age with this inflation, I think that's probably the case too. There is a movement out there called FIRE. I think it's kind of dying. I don't hear it dying a little bit. I don't hear as much about it.
I've honestly never heard of it.
Are you serious?
I haven't. Before I started reviewing for this,
we had it's a few years ago. We had, I think, a prospect say, "Hey, I'm part of this FIRE thing," and
well, that stands for Financial Independence Retire Early, right?
Yes, that's correct. So that's the first I had really caught on to it. But yeah, these people want to be done by like 45, 40, maybe 50 would be the top end of that. Yeah. And it's very possible to do that. I think that you're going to have to forego some things. How
does the saying go? If you do what is hard, your life will be easy. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. So if you sacrifice now and you do what's hard now, then you have more choices in the future, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And more options. And sometimes it's just knowing that you are retirable, right? So it's like, can I do this? And then you decide maybe not to. You just know that you are retirable at some point.
Yeah, there's lots of cases where people come in and hate their job, and we're able to show them that they could retire in the next year, today even. And then they keep working for sometimes 5 more years because they know they don't have to be there anymore.
Exactly. It kind of changes your step and puts a little pep in your step. It's like, well, I get to be here if I want to be here. I don't have to be here. And so it's a little bit of a different mindset.
They need me. I don't need them. It changes everything.
Right. Exactly.
So obviously to get started with this, you're going to have to save aggressively and very early. So you're probably going to want to be driving a higher mileage car, you're going to live in a smaller house.
Right.
You're going to maybe not going on as many vacations or maybe any at all, right? At the beginning.
Yeah.
So you want to be putting away a very, very high percentage of your savings. Now, I guess we talk about this further down, but the caveat is it's important as to where your savings is going to, because if you really wanted to be done by 40, you're going to have to not have money in a 401k plan, all your money, I should say.
Right. And
not have all your money in IRAs because you can't withdraw. And so your IRAs or 401k 55, in other cases, just 59.5. So,
and there is ways to tap that, of course, the 72T. I know you did a show on that. There's ways to get at it if you need it without penalty.
72Ts they have some roadblocks, I feel like. But,
they do.
But yeah, so it's important that you put money in the right place, and typically that's going to be in just a brokerage account. So if you're saving aggressively, you'd be maxing out your 401k. Most likely, you could put it into the Roth side. If you're making a solid household income, I'd say you want to be putting that pre-tax to save on taxes.
Yeah.
But additional money would be going into a brokerage account, so you can live off that money until you can access retirement funds.
Right.
In your older years. So the next recommendation is to create multiple income streams. So what is your idea of creating multiple income streams? Because I always go to real estate.
Oh, that's one of them, real estate. I mean, you can do side jobs, side hustles. I also like income stream from like investments, dividends, interest, things like that. So if you have dividends, interest, that could go towards your liquidity for spending. I mean, the biggest thing is understanding what you spend. So obviously if you're saving a lot, then because people ask us all the time, well, how much do I need to retire? And the answer is it depends what you spend, right? Yeah. And so if you think about what your spending is in inflation, et cetera, creating any income streams such as Social Security would be later if you're retiring. But if you have access to pensions, which some do, most don't now, dividends, interest on your investments, those are good income streams to help, reduce how much you have to actually pull from principal, if you will. And then, it could be real estate is a good one. The
thing about real estate, if you're trying to retire early, you're going to have a mortgage. So you're going to have to net positive income, which I think is difficult to do right now because the price of the homes are so high.
Yeah.
And rent has gone up, but rent hasn't gone up and interest rates are high. Hasn't gone up enough to create a bigger margin there. So I think that's difficult other than you're going to buy it, you're going to rent it out. And you know that in 30 years, which is going to be much longer than the time span they're looking to retire, that eventually gets paid off and it becomes an income stream.
Right.
So there's that side to it, but you also have to worry about maintaining it. And I don't know. I don't know how that works into early retirement unless you have smaller properties. That's always possible. If you had they still exist. An $80,000 house. It does exist. It doesn't exist in Metro Atlanta.
Right.
But there are areas that I've been to that I've been like, wow, you could buy a house here for $80,000. That's crazy.
Right. And that would cash flow pretty well.
Mississippi. Columbus, Georgia has a large segment of $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 homes. I've never seen them. I just, when I search and I pan out and I go, where is a $100,000 home? It's in places that you probably don't want to live, honestly, but you're not living there. You're just renting it out.
Yeah.
So maybe if you attack something like that differently, but buying a $500,000 total home in Marietta, Georgia to rent out doesn't sound like a property. Doesn't sound like a good idea.
No, not that price point. No,
especially at 6.25%. Actually, you have to add a point for rental for investment properties. So 7.25% interest. That doesn't sound like a good opportunity.
No, I agree.
So
I agree.
But I would, you think multiple income streams. I go back to you're probably not going to have a pension. So you're gonna have your savings paying you. You're not gonna have Social Security until 67. So really, if you worked like a part-time job, which some of these people talk about, they say, well, I'm gonna quit this job, but I'll do some part-time freelance stuff.
Right.
So that can create. But are you really retired if you're doing part-time freelance stuff?
No, unless you something you enjoy doing and it's not, something that brings you passion, or starting a small business or something.
I think that's the key here, honestly, is like find something you enjoy doing and it's not work.
What makes you happy?
I spend some days 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. here, and I don't go home going, I'm sick of this place.
No, of course, it's your dream. You built it, of course.
All right, so let's be strategic about withdrawals. We hinted on this earlier, but how are you going to withdraw money? So there's a lot of times people have enough money to retire early, but the problem is they have it in the wrong places. So if you take out money prior to age 55 out of your 401k plan, you're going to incur a 10% penalty on that withdrawal, in addition to paying income tax. If you do something like roll the money into an IRA when you leave the company, that makes it worse. You have to wait till 59 and a half, and you have to pay a 10% penalty. So then that goes back to creating buckets. You probably should be maxing out a 401k anyway if you're going to retire early, but you need to be calculating how you're going to get to age 55 or 59 and a half by making sure you have enough in a brokerage account that you're putting away. And there's a lot of strategies you can do with that. In fact, our Flight Path program for smaller investors does what they call tax loss harvesting. So we have 3 different ETF models that have the same holdings. Basically, it's just the Vanguard S&P 500 versus a State Street versus a BlackRock S&P 500. It's all the same underlying holdings for the most part.
Right.
So if you have a loss in like a 2022 year where everything's down, the software will automatically sell out of one portfolio into another portfolio that performs very similarly, like we're talking fractions of a percent similarly. So by doing that, you're creating tax credits to write off in your tax return. So you can write off to $3,000 a year, but
or offset unlimited capital gains.
Correct. Yeah. So the idea here is if you're able to write off more than $3,000, it carries forward. Maybe you carry enough credits in the future to be able to sell those gains, because those would be large gains eventually.
Right. And so it's very powerful when you have that brokerage account and then you've been investing and you have all these unrealized gains. And when you start needing liquidity because you're retiring or retiring early, you need to start selling them. And so those credits will help offset the taxes.
Correct. The credits from the losses, and they're temporary losses. You're just realizing the losses versus just staring at them on paper. Right. So having a tax investment strategy is going to be important. And then if you are in a situation where you have age 55 or 59 and a half is an issue, IRS has what they call 72T. I've never done a 72T on a 401k plan, so I assume it's probably just IRAs.
I believe it's IRAs.
So you'd roll to an IRA and you have to take out substantial and equal payments for 5 years or until age 59 and a half, whichever is longer. So if you did it at 55, you'd have to go to 60. If you did it at 59, you'd have to go to 64. Right. Or 64. So sometimes it's better just to pay the penalty for a short time period than you have full access to your money, because what you're doing is you're locking up your money in that case.
Right.
You can't take extra withdrawals, or if you do, everything's going to have to get a penalty assigned to it. So you don't want to be in that.
Are you curious why annuities keep coming up as a potential investment option? People are often told that annuities can effectively mitigate investment risks and help secure their financial future. However, annuities often benefit the salesperson and might not be the best choice for you as a consumer. To learn more about the various types of annuities, the negatives of owning them, and better investment alternatives, we have a free ebook on our website just for you. To download our ebook, Buyer Beware, Why Do They Keep Trying to Sell You That Annuity? Simply click the link in the episode notes or visit wiserinvestor.com/guides. Now let's get back to the episode.
The next thing is the biggest hurdle I see for any young retiree prior to age 65, and that's healthcare cost.
Huge.
So there are ways that you can mitigate that. So if you keep your household income below, and I'm using rough figures, $70,000 a year for a married couple, then you would qualify for the Affordable Health Care Act. Affordable Health Care Act will subsidize your Medicare, or I'm sorry, your healthcare premiums.
They will.
So I don't know. I can't give you an exact quote on what that looks like. It would average out to be what, $300-$400 a month, I think, total out of pocket.
Yeah. So
for the premium.
The premiums could be substantial just depending on, and if your income's high enough, like you said, then there's no subsidies. And so here's the challenge though. Sometimes this is where you just have to pay for it, because you can use, first of all, you retire early, you can be on COBRA for 18 months. Okay.
Which is expensive.
It is, but sometimes it's cheaper than than the marketplace for healthcare. So when you apply there's really no other place to get it. You apply to the marketplace, but we want individuals to have money in brokerage money. They're going to have dividends, interest. We want those multiple income streams. So they're probably going to have income that's high enough that they can't get subsidies.
Ideally, yes.
Right. So,
or we have retirees now that have to keep their income at $70,000.
Right. Which is challenging. So, I've had situations where someone retired early and they had money all in the 401ks, and they just had, they had a few $100,000 in the brokerage, and we put in a zero interest bearing account because the subsidies were higher. The credits that you got from the government were higher than the interest you could even earn on the cash that you needed to spend in the next few years.
Right.
So
that wouldn't account for IRA money. So if most of your money is in IRA,
right,
then that helps. So we're
as long as you're not taking distributions,
correct,
or you're doing Roths,
or you're taking no more than $70,000 in distribution,
right?
So you just have to be really careful with how you approach that. If you don't have anything, we typically budget $600 a month per person. So $1,200 a month is what's our default in our planning software. I don't think that the healthcare that you want necessarily is going to be in the ACA, especially in Georgia, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah. It's usually catastrophic. So it's not. Yeah, exactly. But that is the biggest thing, is bridging till Medicare age, all of those premiums and all of the healthcare costs potentially. Hopefully you're healthy and you're retired early, and, but still the cost of healthcare is just really high.
Right. Prepare for the unexpected. So, you're young enough, nothing really bad has happened health-wise or any other way. I mean, heck, you're retiring early. Must be looking pretty good, right?
Right.
But
financially,
you're not invincible. So you need to be ready for the new roof, the new car, all the big expensive things that as an employee, you could probably handle much easier than not having income. Like retirement income's a little different.
Right. Exactly.
So I would say that you probably are going to need, I don't know, I would say 2 to 5 years worth of expenses in cash.
Yeah. And I would just want to have a buffer. So when we run plans, we look at probability of success, right? And so, if it's right on the line, it's still retirable, but there's just not a lot of buffer there for a market to go down, or if you have those one-off expenses that are unplanned, or, life happens, right? And now if you're retiring early, you're living hopefully longer, and you need the money to last longer. So it's really important that you have, I would think, a good solid buffer going into retirement, especially if you're looking at, 50 years of retirement. That's a long time to sustain you.
Yeah.
Looking at long-term care, looking at all of those options.
Staying flexible and adapt. So obviously I don't think you just go into the sunset floating away in a sailboat like they have in the commercials. I think you have to be, sticking with the sailboat analogy, scanning the horizon, looking for trouble, right? So you'd want to be, updating your financial plan once a year, make sure everything is going the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
The further away you get from an employment, I think the harder it is to get reemployed. Right?
Yeah.
What you've been doing the last 10 years, you're probably not using Word and Excel and all the basic things. AI. Yeah.
What's AI?
Yeah, exactly. Chat GPT who? You're probably not using those things. So you have to stay relevant So it's really hard to go back to work after such a long break. I think I'll add another category that wasn't on our show notes here. I think for people who want to do this is goal setting, and you're going to have to be hyper focused on doing this. And it's not all just about saving. We can't forget about our entrepreneurs too. There's people who are building things that maybe don't have or have average income, but someday they're going to sell something, and that takes planning too. Tax planning for one thing, setting up your business to be able to tax efficiently transfer, so you have more in your pocket to be able to be retired or take that long break before you're looking for the next thing.
Right.
I think that too, you have to realize, I think we're all made to work, or at least we're all made to have purpose. Doesn't mean you're working for income necessarily.
We're all made to grow.
So I would make sure that if this is what you want to do, that what is your purpose? A lot of times we see people just doing like heavy traveling.
Right.
And that's what their purpose is. But you don't do that forever. At some point you've covered everything, right?
Right. Or you slow down because of healthcare, health issues and things like that.
Yeah, right. Just being tired or whatever. But when you think about setting a goal to do this, what are your steps? I think that one is going to be eliminating debt. You have to be, I just don't see how you do this with carrying debt.
No.
Yeah, not unless you're retiring with, $10+ million.
Yeah.
And that's an exaggeration. You can do it less and carry some debt.
Sure.
But I think you'd want to be debt free. For probably the most people who are listening to this who want to be done. And that's going to take some sacrifice. So then after you become debt free, then you focus on building your wealth.
Right. Not locking it up in things. Correct. People may flock to annuities because that income's, we're against True. That. It hurts your growth and your upside, and it locks up your money and, things like that. Stay away from that.
So I think all right. So what you have to realize is when you're setting goals that you can't say, I want to max out my 401k. I want to pay a little extra on my debt. I'm going to add a little bit more to my brokerage account. You can't take a shotgun approach to it. You're going to be hyper focused. You gotta charge forward like a rhinoceros. And there's a book about that. So Dave Ramsey's reading list. It's a really short red book. It's called Rhinoceros Like Success. And his whole thing is he analyzes rhinoceroses, which is silly, but they don't like run around like a bird chasing somebody. They lower their head and they charge straight ahead and they run. And then you see it on like the Nature Channel or something, they charge and then they kind of like, oh, I missed. And then they turn back around and they lower the head and they charge again. That's how you have to go after goals. You have to say debt free. And then every ounce of your being is focused on that. Right. And then once you achieve that goal, you move to the next goal. So I think that's really important in doing this. You can't just do sprinkle a little here and sprinkle a little there. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, it makes great sense.
And you got to stay in good shape because, you got to be in good shape. Yeah. Right.
Yes, you do. Because you have to absolutely, you have to lead yourself well in all areas, Yeah. You don't want to be doing all that and stressed and then sick and then have all the healthcare issues and all the expense of that. Right. And what's the purpose of that?
Exactly. I mean, I've met so many people that want to retire early because they hate their jobs. So part of me goes back to, well, why not find a career that you enjoy?
Right.
And maybe part of it is becoming debt free and saving money, but also maybe that allows you to retool yourself to do something that you find more purpose in.
And sometimes it's even just changing who you work for.
True.
Your environment. If it's not a good environment, you can create your own culture around you, but change your environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So take your talent somewhere else.
Yeah. I think that was, one of Missy's quotes. In our group conversation, wasn't it? She's like, I just didn't realize that I could be in this industry and I didn't have to be miserable. I thought, man, how sad is that to be stuck in such a horrible situation?
Yeah.
And realize that finally she realized I could find another job. It could be okay.
Right. Well, and being somewhere where you're appreciated and, your talents, you get to use your talents and you feel, purpose.
Right. That's true.
Right.
She's not just a financial planner. She's an award-winning financial planner.
That's right. I really am proud of her.
All right. Well, hopefully this helped you. If you're looking for early retirement and long-term security, they have to go together. And hopefully these are some tips you can take away. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're interested in learning more about Wiser Wealth Management or want to schedule a consultation to meet with one of our fiduciary financial advisors, you can do so by going to wiserinvestor.com, or you can click the link in the episode notes. We'll see you guys next week.